Okay, so if this is your first time here, I want to start by saying welcome. I'm actually new here too. This podcast has been on my heart for a long time, but like so many things in my life, the timing of it feels intentional. So if you don't know me, my name is Tanner. I'm a mom, a business owner, a woman of faith. I help women, especially moms, learn how to build income from home in ways that are realistic, ethical, and actually sustainable. And this space is going to be honest. It's going to be about business, but also about faith and about growth, but also surrender. I also wanted it to be about building something meaningful without losing yourself in the process. And I don't think there's a more fitting way to start than by talking about the week that finally pushed me to hit record. And I apologize. I am going to be reading notes for this because I don't really trust my emotions like this first time around. So, um, yeah, let's just get into this. And I want to say this before I go any further. This episode wasn't planned months in advance. There was no outline sitting in a notes app waiting for the right time. This came from real life happening faster than I could even prepare for it. So I want this podcast to be a place where we talk about things in real time, not perfectly packaged lessons. So if you're looking for that here, you're just not gonna get it, at least not right now. I don't want it to be not hindsight wisdom that sounds like cleaner than it felt. So, if you're listening to this and you're in a season where things maybe feel uncertain, disrupted, or fragile, I hope this feels like a conversation and not a performance because that's kind of where I'm at right now, too. And I want to talk about the week that I just had because if I'm being honest, it's been one of the hardest weeks I've had in business. And I've had some hard weeks since starting this business. And not just because of numbers or logistics or strategy, but because of what it surfaced in me emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. So let's just get into it. Some of you may know this by now, but last week, my Instagram account with over 100,000 followers disappeared. No warning, no explanation. One minute it was there, the next minute it was gone. There was no heads up, no chance to prepare, no like suspension or anything. Like, no, this might be happening moment. I literally got logged out and I logged in and I tried to log in and it was like, we've disabled your account. And it said something about community guidelines, which felt really weird because I haven't done anything out of community guidelines. I've been posting the same thing on this account for over 2 years now. Like, there's nothing that I've done that should have triggered that. Like, it was just gone. And I think what people don't talk about enough is how disorienting it is to lose something like without explanation, like in the business world. Like when there's no closure, there's no clear reason, like when there's no immediate solution, like your brain wants to fix it, your emotions want to panic, and your faith is being asked to trust without clarity. And honestly, like that combination is exhausting. And the reality is, like, that account drove the majority of my business. Like, I'll just be real. And so it wasn't just an app, it was where I showed up daily, where I taught, where I connected, like where people found me. Like, that's kind of what's been the hardest part about it all. It's like I was having so many conversations with people and now they're just gone. And I'm like, I hope they find a way to come connect with me because, like, there's no way for me to find them. But it held years of work, consistency, conversations, and trust. So now, thankfully, I'm diversified. I have an email list. I have other platforms that I'm on. Like, I do have other income streams. But even with all of that, losing my main business Instagram still hit my business hard in a way I was not prepared for. And, um, and I want to be, oh, sorry, I was like, am I recording? I'm recording. Okay. Bear with me, guys. I'm new, new to this. And I want to be honest about that part because sometimes we feel pressure to downplay the impact so we don't sound like irresponsible or dramatic. But the hit was real. And that's what I want to talk about today. Like, not just the business lesson, but the faith side of it too. Because for me, like, those things are never separate, they're always interchangeable. So I think sometimes online we talk about diversification, like it's this checkbox, like something you have to do, like Check, have an email list, be on more than one platform, have multiple offers. And yes, like those things matter. They did save me from complete disaster. They've given me some options, some breathing room. They gave me stability. But what I learned this week is that being diversified and being protected are not the same thing. And that realization didn't come from anything else other than just straight experience this week of what I went through. So, um, I still lost my most important business asset like without warning. And when something like that happens, you're forced to see clearly like what was quietly carrying more weight than you realized. And when something like that happens, you realize like how much of your income is still tied to systems you do not control. No matter how compliant you are, no matter how careful you are, no matter how much value you bring, you do not own social media. You just don't. And I want to sit with that for a minute because this is one of the biggest blind spots in online business. Like we say, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but we still often do, just in quieter ways. And when one platform drives most of your traffic, when one login controls access to your audience, when one algorithm change could shift everything, like that doesn't make you irresponsible. It makes you human, but it does mean there's wisdom in asking harder questions before something forces you to, like it did me. And that's uncomfortable to admit, like when your livelihood is connected to it, especially when you've done everything right, or at least you think that you have. So, what made this week even heavier is what I've been reading. So, I'm going through like the year through the Bible plan. This is actually my second year through it. And this all happened while I was reading the book of Job. And that irony is not lost on me. It almost felt a little too on the nose. But like one of those moments where you don't know whether to laugh or to cry. Now, let me be very clear. What I'm walking through does not compare to what Job endured, if you're familiar with that story. I didn't lose family, I didn't lose my health, I didn't lose anything of huge significance. Like perspective matters. I am not trying to be tone deaf in that matter, but in business terms, like I said, I lost my most important asset overnight. And I want to say something important here. Like, I've walked through harder seasons than this in my whole entire life. Like, I walked through my husband losing his job. I walked through family members getting sick. I've walked through losing people I love. I'm not sitting here saying that losing my Instagram account is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It's not. But it has been really hard, and I don't want to diminish that either. Because pain doesn't have to be the worst pain you've ever experienced for it to still matter. And loss doesn't have to be catastrophic to still shake you. And I think sometimes we feel this pressure to minimize what we're going through because we know others have it harder. But acknowledging that something is hard, it doesn't mean that you lack perspective. It just means you're being honest. And I'm just trying to be honest, like where I'm at. And that loss still mattered. And it forced me into some very uncomfortable questions. Like, was this an attack, like an enemy attack? Like, was this protection from God? Like, was this discipline? Was this redirection? Was I relying on Instagram too much? Probably. Did it become an idol without me realizing it? And that question was a hard one to face. And I want to pause here because the word idol can feel heavy. I don't think it always means something extremely bad, like you're a bad person for having an idol in your life. But sometimes it just means something slowly became too important and something you leaned on for security, something that carried more weight than it should have. And that realization, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't come with shame. It comes with awareness. And awareness, if you think about it, it can actually be a gift even when it's uncomfortable. And I don't have neat answers for all these questions. I don't. I don't know if I ever will. And I think sometimes faith, like content out there, makes it feel like we're supposed to immediately know what God is doing. Like, you know, being a believer, you're like, oh, well, this is God's plan, or oh, this is like, we know what he's doing. This is probably why. Like clarity should come instantly and peace should just be automatic. But the truth is, like, sometimes you don't get clarity right away. Sometimes you don't get clarity at all. And sometimes you just get silence. And sometimes you just get waiting. And the waiting is where I'm at, and the waiting is definitely the hardest part for me. So I won't pretend I handled this all perfectly. I wrestled hard this week. There were moments of trust, moments of panic, moments of confidence, and moments of fear. I went back and forth between I know I'm doing what God has called me to do, and why would He let this be taken away? And that tension has just like lived within me all week because what I do, like to my core, is I help women and I help all people, but the majority of my students are women, especially moms, learn how to make money from home. Like I did it because I needed to learn how to do that to help take care of my kids and my family. And what I have learned and what I have taught, I've seen it change lives. I've seen financial stress lifted. I've seen confidence restored. I've seen families helped. Like, there's been a lot of success stories because what people have implemented, what I've taught, and I've been able to teach because I truly feel like God made it a way for me to be here. And so that's just like my lived experience with it. And ever since I've been doing this, like this work has felt aligned, it's felt purposeful, it has felt guided, and it has felt like something like I was meant to steward. So losing the platform where that message lived felt confusing. Like it's just felt confusing and it's felt painful, not just because of what I've lost, but because of what it represented. So, it's like you think that God tries to steer you away from bad things, but when you feel like you're doing something good and right and that gets steered or gets redirected, it's like, all right, like what what's the answer here? What am I supposed to be doing? So, at some point this week, um I hit a wall and it's that moment where you realize like you can't think your way out of it anymore. I'm really big on mindset and I just could not overcome it with my mindset this week. And I realized like I could either keep trying to control the outcome, keep trying to fight to get my Instagram back, or I could fully release it. And releasing it was harder than losing the account because control feels safer than trust, at least for a control freak like me. It's something I've wrestled with my entire life, but control just gives this illusion of safety, like even when it's exhausting. And um I feel a lot through like worship music, and so I made a playlist this week, worship songs that reminded me of like what I know to be true, so I could just hear those truths even when I don't feel it, even when I don't see it, because sometimes faith looks like reminding yourself of what you already know over and over again, even if it's like not right in front of you anymore. So there's one song, there's a lot of songs. Like if y'all want the playlist, let me know. But there's one song that keeps coming back to me, and it's called Waiting. And there's a line that says, if you're not in it, I don't want it. It's all in your hands. And it then goes, if I don't get it, I don't need it. If it's not what you planned. And that line wrecked me because it forced me to ask something deeper than, will this work out? Do I actually believe that? Do I actually believe that if God wants me to have something, I will have it, and if He doesn't, I don't need it? And waiting has been one of the hardest spiritual disciplines for me because waiting feels passive, and I don't like passive. I'm a fixer. I like action. I like plans. I like next steps. I don't like rest. I want to keep moving. And